is no secret that modern movies suck. But what isn't known is why they suck. And that's what I'm here to solve. Likely you've never heard of me before, but I have spent hundreds of hours researching what precisely makes a story good. And using my knowledge, I will identify the 4 main problems with modern films. The first one, of course, being that movies are overly structured. Structure in a story is not inherently a bad thing. Matter of fact, I would go as far to say that 9 times out of 10, an unstructured story will be worse off than ones that are structured. That's because structure requires planning. With structure, you're unlikely to start the writing process before you have an idea on how you're gonna end it. But unstructured stories allow the writer to start blind. Even if you were to go out of your way to write with structure but no planning, you would still know what next step to take once you finish the first. An unstructured writer, on the other hand, will be lost, and likely, later down the line, will cause writer's block. So, how can one be overly structured if structure is, in fact, a good thing? Well, like most things in life, balance is the key. If you've dabbled in the medium of story one time or another, whether it be in literature class or a movie review, TV review, or anime review, it's likely you've had the unfortunate experience of hearing about the hero's journey. A structure, supposedly, created from the commonalities in hero stories throughout history. I'm sure you picked up that I'm doubtful about that. And in fact, I'm not the only one, because apparently he found 17! Not only is that an unbelievable amount of similarities, like, really, I don't believe it, but for a structure, that is far too restrictive. Even Vogler's simplified 12-stage version is a bit much. Movies are not that long, and when you have 12 plot points that are present in every single one, they are, believe it or not, gonna get more and more predictable. Another overly complex structure present throughout movies is Save the Cat. It's a lot more likely you've never heard of this one before. And that's because film reviewers are not writers, and likely have never picked up a book covering the topic they are so dearly obsessed with. These professional consumers seem to have little interest in knowing the techniques of the craft. Now on to 2. The characters are too simple. Characters nowadays are written more and more on the nose. You could go out of your way and analyze a character from a modern film and find out that your analysis is completely unnecessary, because characters nowadays contain very few qualities outside of their surface level traits. No character arcs, one-dimensional, and no meaning is the current name of the game. Heck, they don't even need some sort of tangible desire to drive the story forward naturally. You know, the bare minimum trait to create an identifiable character. Yeah, you know that one? Don't need it! And you don't need to give him a weakness either, do ya? This brings me to my 3rd issue. Themes. For some reason, modern films tend to lack themes entirely. When people hear the word theme in the context of story, they usually think of it as the message. And while they are quite similar, it's important, especially for writers, to understand the difference. The message of the story is the answer. Theme is the argument. Matter of fact, it is part of the 4 stages of conflict. Message should never be used by itself, because it is the result of the victor of the theme's conflict. When you strip out the theme, you are only left with the message. And at that point, your story will become what I like to call a lecture narrative. And unless you're preaching to the choir, you're only gonna make the audience resent your view more. Not to mention, you'll bore them into a grave, because lectures are boring. Arguments are entertaining. I don't know why, but out of every field of art, you'll find, like me, that writers are by far the most arrogant group you'll ever have the misfortune of encountering. You'd think with all that arrogance, some confidence would manifest in their work, but it doesn't. Because under that thick layer of arrogance, you have the world's most fragile ego. Throw one small criticism their way, and they will have a complete meltdown. This is at least my reasoning behind why more and more films are getting more messagey and less themey nowadays. Simply, the fact that writers believe themselves to be so correct in every aspect of life that there is no reason to make an opposing outlook appear remotely competent. That, and the fact that they're too scared and don't want to find out that they may be wrong about something by challenging their outlook. Remember, fragile ego. But the slow degrading of the quality in films is not all of the fault of the writers, because this last one is mainly the fault of the studios, and that is the lack of originality. Remakes and sequels litter the current state of modern films, and it's sickening. More and more studios are refusing to sink their money into films that aren't what they like to refer to as pre-sold franchises. I mean, after all, you're more likely to squeeze money out of a story that already has an audience than one that doesn't. And yeah, sure, some pre-sold franchises have been quite good. Puss in Boots is the first one to come to mind, and Spider-Verse, but they don't really hit the same way as original films, like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Thank goodness it won everything at the Oscars, because now perhaps the studios will take that as a hint, or maybe they'll point to absolute failures like Elemental, because executives don't understand that people like films that look appealing. I mean, screw this 12th principle of animation, right? All my homies hate the 12th principle of animation. Seriously. I've seen Minecraft shaders that make water look more appealing than Elemental. It also doesn't help that all the marketing makes the film look super generic and safe. But hey, forget all that. Did you know, in most cases, the second draft of a story will often be worse than the first? If you want to find out how that's even possible, then click the video on screen right now. Or go watch some classic Kino, I don't care. Just do something that's worth your time. Like clicking the video on screen right now. Do it now!